Now, they go into university, okay? And some people do this. They send their children to expensive universities abroad. And the child, he starts with, medicine, and then he moves into art, and then he moves into IT, and they just don't seem to find a place for themselves. They just don't seem to be able to thrive, yeah? And it's costing you money all this time. And university and studies are uphill. Yet, all the ingredients are in place. They're a smart child, but they're just not making it. Somehow, they don't have the focus, they don't have the determination that is required to make it. And you look at the child and it's like, when we were in your place, we had all these things. What happened? What really happened? And the question is, you can go back and actually, at some point, say, this is where the problem began. Okay? Was I there in the early stages of their lives to structure their learning and development? Was I there? Okay? Many times when we used to go to school, we used to sit down with the teachers and say, thank you so much, teacher, for helping our child in this and that. And, they're getting better grades, they're doing good now, and so on. The teachers say, don't thank us, don't thank us. Thank yourselves, because we work with what you give us. Okay? You give us the raw material, and then we work with it. So what happens in school depends on what you give the teacher. Okay? And it starts with you. And it starts with the very basic things in your home. Let's go through some of them. Are they able to sit still, eat their food at a given time? That will show up in school. Sitting still, doing what they're meant to do. Are they able to take your instruction, go and sleep now, and follow through? If they're able to take your instruction and follow through, they will take the teacher's instruction and follow through. We work with what you give us. And so that's what you're giving them to work with. Okay? Do you discipline them for distraction, or do you think children are naturally distracted? Distraction is a bad thing. They get into school, they're distracted, so they can't concentrate. You test them, they're a brilliant child, so they can't make the grades. Are they disciplined to do work first and then enjoy themselves later? Remember, we had this very, very small house, guest room we were living in the early stages of our marriage and parenting. And so this child didn't have a place to do their homework and so on. So very early one morning, I go into the toilet, and this child is, working on the floor in the toilet. There's a textbook opened and an exercise book, and, she's writing. And I say, what are you doing here? Why are you doing it now? I am finishing my work now so that I can go and play. Okay? So, are we demanding that the work gets done, the hard stuff gets done, the enjoyment comes afterwards? Are we reading with our children? Okay? Bida used to ensure that the children read a book a week. And they wrote a summary, okay? Bida likes to give instructions, yeah? Read a book, do the summary. Those are instructions. And then, Dad, you check the summary and make sure it's right. So everybody's been given a job. Okay? It's good to think, isn't it? Because you make other people work. Okay? So now I had to figure out, and you flip through the book and see, okay, does this summary look right? Those are the days, when there was an internet, you couldn't go and just pick up a summary, straight away. No. Okay? I had to look through the book and see, I think the child, read the book. But that put them forward in English. Maths games, playing with certain toys and so on, that put them forward in maths, because school is about being able to consume information and being logical. And therefore, the children get accelerated, and then they can also not only do their work, but do other stuff as well. We work with what you give us, okay? Are they now enjoying how to succeed? Because if they're enjoying how to succeed, then they will live up to their potential. Are you building resilience in the child? If they can't do a subject, do you say, oh, let's change that subject, let's change that teacher? No. Do that subject, learn how to excel in it, stay with that teacher. Okay. Are we discovering their gifts and abilities? Children have an amazing store in there of different gifts and abilities. It is for the parent to unlock them. It is for the parent to direct them. And we realized that with one of our children, we were late in discovering a potential for one of their games. And we could have seen it earlier because they were really, really interested in this swimming thing. But we just thought it was playing. And so when they started swimming with others who had begun swimming earlier, they had a passion for it, but they didn't get the early start they needed. So they lost out on that. So are we there to look at what their abilities are and begin to direct them? Let me tell you, if you're out there chasing those things we talked about in the beginning, you won't see these things. They will just pass you by. And you will say, why are my children mediocre? Why are so-and-so's children going ahead? It's not the children. It's the parents. Yeah? So look at what they did. Let's go to the spiritual areas of life. Many children thrive, and we have examined a lot of children that thrived at the university and so on when we were in the 50s, when looking back at our children. But some children had a lack of interest in spiritual matters, made poor choices in dating and sexual matters, and then a regret by parents that they were not there to discuss these things at a personal level. So what is it that happened? What is it that happened? And maybe this can be traced back. It can be traced back. With the intensity and stress of life, did I tell Nairobi Chapel or Sitam Karen, I am now giving you my child to take care of spiritually for 2 hours on Sunday and another 2 hours during the week? I know you haven't had this conversation with the church, but it's a silent contract. I will pursue all these things in my life, and church, since I come, I give, I serve here, you will take care of my children, okay? So it's like Pastor Bella, Pastor Andy, this is your job. And on Sunday, I give them to you. When it came to sexual matters and areas of dating, is it the parent who is dealing with this? Or is it hoped that the church will take care of these issues? And sometimes we feel like the church is better equipped to handle this than I am, equipped. In some of the feedback that came from the children, they said, we did not want the church groups to talk to us about sexual matters. We wanted you, as our parents who care for us, to talk to us about them and talk to us in ways that are productive, that are good, that are wonderful, okay? And so the children expected it of us, and parents, we expect it of the church, okay? So we abdicate that very important role to the church. And the children know, I didn't hear this first from dad, I didn't hear it from mom. They don't hold it important enough for me to talk to them. And therefore, Pastor so-and-so said it, well, I haven't heard it from my parents. Okay? And so the children expected to hear from. Are we there? Are we ready to enter this minefield? Okay? Now, you may not feel adequate to handle this, but you can use the resources that the church provides and decide I'm going to go into this. Atanari has got some very good books out there. One of them is the Parents' Ropes Manual that talks about just what are the transitions that the teen is going through, physically, emotionally, sexually, so on, and how you as a parent can enter that conversation. And then some churches, there are programs that are a year long for the teen as they make this transition, but even you as a parent enter that program for a year long. That is a worth it investment. Go for it and do it. Then, there is another area that is worrying for parents, and we could see it, is that the young adults, they may have gone and they may have gotten their degree, and so we go for this graduation, they're back, and so on. And it's like they're not too keen on getting a job, and then when they get the job, they want to stay at home, and so on. And it's like, what's happening to this child? I trained you to go out there, or I thought I trained you to go out there. What happened to that child is that they began enjoying the wealth that you provided from these long hours of work that you put in. And because you wanted to show them that, you were doing something, you indulged them, okay? You can buy this, you can drive our cars, you can take that holiday abroad, we're there, This is the kind of life that we live. And they become accustomed to that kind of life. And you show them, this is how life will always be, okay? And we will be here to make sure that you get that kind of life. You don't say that. But I've heard parents say, you come back, we'll get you that flat, we'll get you this, that, and the other, okay? And we think at this stage in life that wealth will solve our problems. Okay, that's all we need. But really, that wealth may be the stumbling block in making your young adults an independent, strong child. Because it's there. They can see into the future. There is a safety net for them. Okay? So what do you do with your wealth? You think it is the answer to everything. You'll get to the age of 60, you look back and say, you know what? Even if I had more, it won't change my marriage, it won't change the children. Okay? And so you need to review your pursuit of that. It doesn't solve all your problems. And so, what is the answer to that? What we need to do, let me backtrack a bit. Our children begin now to enjoy, the clubs that we have, their memberships, and so on. And then when they're enjoying life at that level, it's very hard for them to go and start at another level. Okay? I remember when our son left our home, he went, by the way, we had a good experience with him. I didn't want him to leave early. You came back from university at 23 and decided I'm going to go and so on and so forth. I said, hey, stay one more year. The money you would have paid in rent, invest it in this, that, and the other. And then he stayed for one more year. And then he said, the time comes for a man to go. And my time has come, and so I'm going. He went and he rented a nice apartment on the top with an Arctic roof with good views. The ceilings were nice and so on. And the rent wasn't cheap, okay? But you know what? He had been used to that because his bedroom at home had the same kind of ceilings and there was light coming in. This is how you live life. It didn't take him very long to realize he can't afford this. So he went across somewhere there and he said, I think I can afford this. And I still have a view of Karen. But one day, I will jump into it, okay? But he had the ability to make the adjustments. But not all children have the ability to make that adjustment. And so what do we need to do? We need to make sure that our children can create their own success with our help. So they're not looking at our success. In fact, they should look at our success and say, this is minuscule. You mean this is all you have achieved? Yeah? They need to be able to make their own success. And they need to be able to enjoy doing that. And that takes training. That takes you being there in these years to help them with that. And there are books that will help you with this and so on. Their budgets need to be fixed. And the one thing that we really learned is that whatever money we would have given them in the teen years, we would have spent on them, now we give them. And when we give them that money, they can go and buy everything. When it runs out, it runs out. If you can't buy school uniform, you can't buy school uniform. It's just too bad. As a girl, you can go and buy all the clothes you want to buy, but you don't got nowhere to go because you don't have bus fare, you don't have entertainment money. Let them make those mistakes when they're with you. You don't bail them out. They learn. Let them borrow from you. And then when they borrow and get broke, that's up to them, you know. But you teach them how to use what they have. Our son worked for us in the office, and he got his money, and then he had his allowance, and he really, you know, and he put it in his pocket, and he was going to buy a phone, okay, because the phone was a big thing to have at that time in school. It just defined who you are, the kind of phone you had. It didn't take very long before that phone was stolen, okay? So the guy comes and says, because a phone is important, Mom, Dad, can I borrow some money to buy a phone? Okay, so we have this discussion and bid and so on and so forth. We have our disagreements about it, okay? Then we say, fine, lend him the money. So we lend him the money. Now he's come to the banker, yeah? We lend the money. We have terms of repayment that go with it. And then you know what happens? He goes and he buys another phone, okay? He's back there, guys, I'm around. Hey? Okay. Then you know what happens? He drops that phone, it goes. Oh, Dad, Mom, you know, I have this problem. We felt the pain, by the way, when it was lost the second time. Okay? But we said the repayments continue. Yeah? So what did he learn? He learned a lot of things through that. So let them so you've got to do this kind of training so that they suffer when they're here, they learn when they're here, and when they go out, they're in a better place. Don't be afraid, you know, of that. But it takes being there, it takes being involved, it takes being very, very deliberate with them. Then, when they're fixed like that, they live within their own incomes, they deal with peer pressure by themselves, okay? If that's all you can afford to dress with, it's fine. That's your issue, okay? Because I'm dealing with my own peer pressures. So you learn how to deal with yours. I can't keep on bumping money your way so that you're sorted out and you look good, you know, with your friends. No, everybody learns how to live with their own pressures. But we've got to be there to help our children create their own desire for success and know how to manage that success. Okay. When parents are busy making life happen, busy taking off in the 30s and 40s, affirmation and attention can be taken away from the children. It's very important for girls, and I'm talking to dads now, that for the 15 years that your child can understand affirmation and affection from you, the daddy, you're there to give that to your girl, if daddy is there. If he's there, he is expected to do it, okay? Because if they don't enjoy and experience that affection and experience themselves as a beautiful, loving, lovely person, it really opens them up to any person who shows them the wrong kind of affection in the future. Okay? So, this guy is brought home, and you ask, where did you pick this yo-yo from? Dad, this guy looks like you. Okay. So it's important you're there to give them the affection, because then they learn what a strong, loving man is. And on their radar, beep, beep, they pick him up. He is there. Okay? And you need to help them sort out those relationships. And if you've been talking with them, building relationships with them, they will tell you about what they're going through. Or else you won't know if you're not there. And you need to be there for them now, at this stage. I remember working through some things with our daughter and, relationships, crying and so on, and then listening to them and so on. And then after a while she said, if you were not there for me, if you had not loved me, if you had not affirmed me, I would have found love in the wrong places. I would have found love in the wrong places. And you know what? She would have entered a road of no return, because we were not there to do those things. Right now, you're really laying a foundation for your children that will serve them and serve your grandchildren as well. That's how you're investing, okay? Forget these other investments we do. This is a huge investment that you need to make. There are many years to regret, huh? From about 50 there to 80. God giving you life, 85, 90, 40 years in there to regret. You do not want that for yourself. So do the work now. Do the 20-year work, at this point. Boys need attention. And they need attention at this stage when you're busy doing other things, okay? We're hearing, we're seeing, and we know that actually boys are lagging behind in the workplace. They're lagging behind in investments. House ownership, women, okay? What happened to our boys? What happened to our boys? You know what? Daddy is not there for them to see what a man looks like. At Mbither's work of place, so many women managers, because women deliver. And so they say, we need to select a man. Affirmative action. And it's happening in your workplaces. You need to look for a man. So this thing looks balanced. What's happening to our boys? Really, you're not asking what's happening to our boys. What's happening to daddy? What's happening to daddy? And daddy doesn't really have to be that really powerful, rich man, media personality, and so on. He just needs to be there. And I'm reminded of a friend of mine called Amani. His father was involved with him, disciplined, taught him, picked him up, dropped him, all that stuff. Knew how his dad handles matters. And then when he was in school, his friend said, whenever Tom has a problem with his responsibilities, he asks, what would daddy do? Because he had seen daddy. He was modeling his life along daddy's life. What would my dad do? That's all your son wants. What would my dad do? So just be there, do the right things, and your son will know what to do. If you're not there, he will look for another man, you may not like that man, as a model of what he should do. And this is the time. You have that boy for those years, and he needs you to see what a man should do and should be. He defines his journey. He defines his manhood and how a man is through you. So if you're a man and you're there and all you do is you come home and you slump into the chair and all you're doing is flicking channels, and on the weekends you're to the garage and your games and so on, and not giving attention to your wife and so on, this is how life is lived. This is how African men are. Okay? He learns that. You ladies like to say African men. That's why I'm using that. Okay? So that is what happens when we don't give them attention. If we enter that road of no return, we're sucked into career, we're sucked into prosperity, etc., we will not have time to build relationships because we're climbing many different ladders. And what suffers is the relationship we have with our children. We're doing a parenting seminar in a school, and there was a questionnaire. You know what the children said? Our parents are too busy for us. I hope your children are not saying this about you, that you have no time for them. Our parents are too busy for us says, our parents have got far more important things to do than us. Okay? And that's very easy. Dad, come for this game? No. Dad, come to school? No. Mom, do this? No. I've got a meeting. I've got an assignment. I've got travel. And every time the child is hearing, lower, lower, lower. I'm not important. This relationship is not going anywhere. Okay? And so children begin to play up in many different ways when you show them that that's where they belong. Remember another parent being invited to a parenting class, and they said, you know, that daughter of mine, she is the problem. I really want her out of my house quickly. I am so tired of my daughter. The person who was inviting her said, you know what? You are the problem, not your daughter. Oh, really? Come to the class. Okay? So, a couple of years later, this lady sends us this text saying, I'm glad I attended that class. Today we celebrate the 17th year of my daughter's birth, her birthday. This teen is now disciplined. She is confident. She is loving. She is mature. She is God-fearing. Thank you so much. What had happened? The parents now knew ways of relating to the child and giving themselves to the child. And what did that do? It changed the child's view of themselves. It changed the way they expressed themselves in loving ways, etc. And so we can turn the tide in our children when we give them that kind of attention and develop those relationships. She was no longer the child the parent wanted to finish and get out. Okay? So it is time to invest in relationships. And as Bidde was talking about adult children, parenting is building a relationship now so that you can help them in the future with the many complex things they will have. Okay? What are the complex things? They will be wanting to get married and choose a spouse. Will you be there for that? Will they come back to you for that because of the relationship? They'll be wanting to take this course or this job. Will they come to you because of the relationship? Or will they go to other people they trust more? Okay? Will they do that? They will come to you only if there's a relationship. And remember, at that point in time, it is them to decide on the relationship. It's not you anymore. So you've really got a limited window before the tables turn around, and they determine how, when to relate to you. But you can make them come back by the way you relate to them. And so when they come back to you and discuss their parenting, they discuss their marriage, they discuss their work, they discuss their investments, you can now use all the wisdom, all the experience that you have had to align them to God's purposes for them. What do you become after parenting physically is finished? You become a voice of purpose in the life of your child to align them to what God wants because they look to you. So you become a voice of purpose. And there's a lot said in this book about becoming a voice of purpose in the life of your child. And it says, this is what you want to see in your child. This is what you need to do in order for you to reap that place in the future. We're coming to the end of this, and now I want to look at the outcomes. Okay. If you take all these books that are given to you, all the advice and so on, and you follow it through rigorously, you'll have done a great job. Okay? You really will have done. It will cost you, you will make certain sacrifices, you will reprioritize certain things, and so on. But nobody is going to give you 100% guarantee that it's going to turn out well. Okay? God setting up the Garden of Eden, everything. You know one thing he did? He gave Adam the free will. Okay? And he chose differently. So nobody can give you 100% guarantee that the child will turn out well. Okay? Proverbs says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverb talks about probabilities. And in many of them, you will see probabilities. Okay? If you increase your investment in them, the probability is higher and higher that they will turn out right. If you invest in them and they go wrong, you have given them a default to come back to. So you still have something in there. If you don't do anything, and you go out and pursue your own life, your own actualization, and so on, the chances that they will go wrong are higher. The chances that they will know how to come back to the right path are even lower. Okay? So that is what you're investing in. Okay? Now, what is the bottom line? What is the bottom line? God has given you this child, made in his own image. He has created this child with a desire to follow him. He has given this child amazing gifts and potential that can change the church, the world, and so on. And you are the person to unlock this. It is a trust that has been given to you that many people actually want and don't have. It's a trust that God has given you. 1 Corinthians 4:2 says, now, it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. Let's come away now from turning out, consequences, and so on. What does God require of you? Prove faithful to the trust that he has given you. Prove faithful to that trust. To be the kind of parent God has commanded you to be that kind of parent. And you stand alone in judgment. You don't stand with your children. You don't stand with your spouse. You stand alone. I gave you this. Did you work on it? Paul, when he's about to die, he doesn't talk about the churches he planted, the people he discipled, and so on and so forth. What he says, I fought a good fight. I put out. I have finished the race. I did what was required of me. I have kept the faith. Okay? He's been faithful in doing that. So that's what God calls us to be faithful in the trust that he has given us. And the results are his, and the choices are the child's. Okay? So I want to stop at that point. And we've got 15 minutes. And the first thing I want to do is just pray through this, and then we'll use the next few minutes after that in some thoughts, depending on how we need to go. So let's bow our heads and pray. Father, I want to thank you for everybody who's here today and the children they represent. Father, I praise you that they have come and you have brought them. Father, you have been speaking to people here about what they should do with the trust that you have given them. And I want to pray, Father, that you will speak to them to the point of action. That, Father, the steps of faith that need to be taken will be taken. The risks that need to be taken will be taken. And that, Father, they will have the peace of knowing I am serving God's purpose in this season of my life, and I can trust him with the next season of my life. And so, Lord, I want to pray that your people would take to heart the things that you have called them to. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen. Good. So, Pastor Bella, we have 15 minutes. I don't know what you want to do with that.
Yeah, I think we'll just take a few minutes and maybe take 2 questions, maybe 3 if we have time, just in response to what we've heard, and then we'll move on for a tea break. Okay? Raise your hand and I'll bring the mic to you. Anyone with a question? 1 question, and we'll stick to 1 question per person. Karibu.
Thank you very much for the great insights. You sort of mentioned the seasons of life around people being in careers and so on. And I think for mothers, it's a lot easier because then you generally tend to be home.
Tend to be?
Home.
Home.
Yeah. So, I mean, the kids spend a lot more time with the mothers than they do with the dads. And so what would be some of the practical things that hard-working fathers who may not have a lot of time do with the children, from your experience?
Okay. Fathers have time. It's how they choose to spend it. You have deliverables at work, yet you get back. And you do stuff with the children. Fathers can decide, I will leave work at 5 o'clock. And you have this thing with your boss, okay? Because I can deliver in those hours that I have. And I will go home, okay? And I will roll my sleeves and I will bathe that child. All the ladies say? Amen. All the men say, why are you putting us in this hole? When you get there, who helps feed the children after they have bathed in the evening? Who is at that table? You know, that time from 5 p.m. to the time children go to bed is so crucial. But it's also the ugly time that daddy doesn't want to be there for. So he comes home and he figures, wow, man, our children are so great. His wife says, So daddy, that's your window. Make sure that, that dinner is had with you around. You tell your stories. And dad, you lead the devotion at that time. You take your children to sleep. If you're good at singing, like Andy, and you pray with them, yeah? So daddy does something. Now, let me push this a little further. Who does the night duties? Okay. So, if mom can wake up, why can't dad wake up? You all need the same amount of sleep. In fact, they say women need more sleep, yeah? Okay? So, that messy diaper in the evening, at night, at 3 a.m., am I getting at you? Who's going to change that diaper at 3 a.m.? I mean, hers is to breastfeed. So please, let's share this out. Okay? At Yusunisumbwe, it just takes 5 minutes to change the diaper and breastfeed, so you do it. Okay? So, who does that? When the child is sick at night, who goes to the child? When daddy goes to the child, when the child is sick at night, when the child begins to walk at night, when they have a problem, they will come and they will walk and they will go to daddy's side of the bed and not mommy's side of the bed. At the age of 16, you won't tell her, tell me your sweet stories about your, these boys and so on. You will hear them. You will not ask your wife what's happening because you are there. So I'm telling you, there's a benefit to changing those diapers and waking up at that time. You'll be on the front row, you'll receive all that stuff. So daddy just needs to say, hey, I'm going to get into this thing, I will do it. Saturdays, when you go around doing your stuff, do you take your child and go to the bank and sit them on the counter? The teller will ask you, has the mother traveled? That's okay. Because they expect mom to do that. You take them to hospital. What's happened to mom? Moms bring children to hospital. So daddy, you can take them to hospital as well. It's choices that daddy needs to make because he's interested in relating to his children. It's all choices. It's never time or priority.
Amen.
Okay?
And when daddy does these things,
Yeah.
can daddy get a few rewards here and there? Maybe 3 times a week, can daddy get rewarded? Emma? Anyway, any more questions? One more question and then, yes, there's one. Sorry, yeah, I saw a hand right here. Quick one.
Hi.
Yes.
I was whispering to my neighbor, then I discovered I'm disturbing her, so I kept quiet. The program you're running with the 50 plus
Yes.
year-olds, I tend to think or propose one of those words. I would love to hear it at 40. 50 is a bit too late for me because the child has grown. If I could do that assessment at 40 and I have a window of dealing with the choices I have made and move a little bit to a better position so that I'm not crying. Are you able to consider doing something like that, either in form of a seminar or, I don't know?
We felt those regrets at that age. People saying, I wish I had heard this earlier. I would have made different decisions in my life. And so what we did is put together a manual that now takes the best case scenarios in the 50s in 8 areas of life and the aspirational scenarios in 8, 9 areas of life. And then we say, in the 30s and 40s, we understand these are your stresses, these are your issues, but you need to make these interventions now in order to get to your aspirational scenario, okay? And that program is called Zindua. There's a launch on the 27th of October. You can register your interest in front there. And on that day, people in the 50s come and tell you how they did it, how they should have done it. You go back, you do the studies by yourself, and you call in a person in the 50s and a person who's 15, 20 years older than you, every so often to give you perspective. We want to start that conversation. So you can actually do it right now. Yeah, okay. Let's have a question from a man. Yeah.
From a man. Okay. Go ahead and then we'll hear from this gentleman.
All right. My question is very simple. Thank you for the opportunity you've given us to come here. I wanted to find out, what do we do with our young adults who are very comfortable at home? They've cleared campus, and they don't know whether God is calling them into business or to look for a job. So all they want is just pray for us, Mom, pray for me to do something. What do we do with them? Thank you.
You tell them, get out there, and I'll pray for you. The problem is, I am keeping them there. I am making them comfortable. We just need to draw the line. Come this time, you're there, okay? You've just got to draw the line. It is you, okay? And make sure, you push them out. Or else you're compromising their future even harder. So take the pain now of making sure you get them out there.
Do you take it up as the mom, or do you let the dad do that? Let's say if the dad is okay with them being there at home. Do you take charge as the mom?
You know how to push your husband to just do stuff? Make his life so miserable. Nag the guy, whine until he says, you know what, do I want my wife or do I want this guy around? The choice is very easy. Dad has got to take that position and say, you know, time's up. Hey, I did what I needed to do. It's time for you to be out there. Yeah?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my question is, you've been able to identify particular gaps, especially of young people as they're growing up. When you give examples of they've been given all the wealth and the money, they feel the comfort of the university, but later they find a challenge to deal or to be independent. So what would you do as a parent to ensure that independence comes in intentionally at that particular age, now that you have an understanding, so they don't have to go that route, which is not good?
Okay. Our parents used to say, do you see all this wealth? Do you see all these chambers, all these houses? They are for Ruth and me. You can do that, okay? But there are things you can do, okay? What you have, because you deserve it, does not need to be your children's, okay? Your children can get their clothes washed. Your children can get their shoes polished. They can get their meals made. They can get their beds made and everything. They can get those made because you can afford to hire this person, okay? But that's a lifestyle that you have deserved. Now, make sure that they can do their own things. A child in their 6, 7, going to their teens should progressively take on those responsibilities, okay? And that's what makes them what? Independent. It makes them feel they can do these things, and so on. So in that way, you're weaning them off, and you're telling them you've got to strive in life. So take away the things that you should enjoy and let them work and develop those skills. Then they'll know, I can go out and I can do this. When they reach a certain age, you make sure they work. Children 13 can work. At home, they can work in an office, they can earn money, and then they feel, yes, I can earn money and do things, I can pay for what I want, to do. But, they can be at home on gadgets and on television all day over the holidays. So the holidays, every holiday, a child is out there working somewhere. It's part of that independence. They take that matatu, they go and have lunch, they take the matatu back, they're out there working. Okay? It doesn't compromise their school. They know how to use their time even better, and they become better students also. So if you begin to look at those things, you can make your child begin to be independent early. Yeah? And girls and boys, you can do that. And then after a while, when they get there, it's like, I don't even want you to find me a job. I want to find a job, for myself. I don't want your networks. I want to do it for myself, you see. So, but you've got to begin there to make them enjoy success, to make them do their own responsibilities. Yeah. When a child begins to lounge like that, I am the problem, not the child. Start now.
Asante.